Joe, welcome to Social Media Matters. And I have to say, I have to credit you with some of the inspiration for doing this, as it was at Cannes in the third week of June when I saw a discussion that you had at Cannes that I thought, look, we should do something in Asia talking about social media. And of course, you and Renren were excellent topics. First of all, can you talk a little bit about Renren, how it's different, what is unique about it? We've had a number of platforms up here from China. What is special about Renren? How is it
well,
a platform?
We're still the same as 1 year, 2 years ago. We're the biggest real name social network in China. The real name being emphasized because virtual name has always been the mainstay, preferred way for people to communicate. But ever since we came out, we changed a lot of that, starting from the college market. So this is the biggest real name-based social network where people tend to communicate among their friends and sharing their instances in life. I would like to say that we are recording human history digitally, and so that in the future, if Renren is still around and the profession of anthropology is still around, then hopefully 100 or 200 years later, when people do research on what Chinese people do in this period of time, they would just dug out the older files and see with their real eyes and what kind of clothes people wear, what kind of emotion that people tend to share, what would the Sichuan food like back in 200 years ago, things like that. So that's what mission is.
Okay, well let's dig a little bit into those files right now, even though it's not 200 years from now. Yeah. Looking at what are the kinds of behaviors that you would say are different and similar from Chinese netizens on social networks. You know, how would in the United States or Europe or other parts of Asia even versus China, what would you emphasize as the big differences for Chinese netizens?
Yeah, so I can only speak from the our user base, which feel more comfortable than
your user base of a few hundred million.
Yeah, or user base of a few hundred million registered users, which tend to be young and living in urban cities. The active user base, about a third to half of them still in the college markets, and the other half or so are the college-bound high school students as well as young white-collar workers. So for this group of users, they prefer to communicate with real name versus the rest of society. So when they do that, their behavior is actually different from subtly from the rest of the market here in China, but it's very similar to US. And there's one thing that's maybe different or two with global phenomenon of social networking is probably all users tend to be probably more passionate about the intensity of them using social networks. Can be very intense. For example, back a few years ago, we launched the first social game, farming game in the world, earlier than Farmsville by Zynga.
That was raised earlier, actually.
Yeah, so basically people or user base would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to try to steal vegetables
which is the key difference
from their friends.
Key difference between Farmville and your version.
Is the feature of stealing vegetables. So if
who came up with this idea?
It's actually our partner,
okay.
A gaming company called 5 Minutes in Shanghai. So they were the global pioneer in this, and the Chinese, the way that, because Chinese tend to be a little bit shy compared with Western population. So you
like stealing vegetables and shy, those are the two different.
Well, no, vegetable is actually a means of communication, right? So if you grew a lot of vegetables and nobody steal that. There's something wrong with you because you're not popular. People don't want to steal your vegetables.
Nobody cares enough to steal my
vegetables. Nobody cares about you to steal vegetables, yes. The more vegetable you get stolen, actually the happier. The secretively you're happier. So that's one example I could come up with. They're actually quite passionate and they can be very intensively involved in something.
What about the number of friends? You know, with Facebook, it's
about the same. For us, it's about 120. For active users, about 120 friends on Renren.
And their interactions are similar, photos, videos?
Yeah, we publish that with our quarterly earnings call after we go IPO. We typically do 3 to 4 pieces of UGC, user-generated content, per user per day. So if that user log in, it typically generates 3 pieces of user-generated content, meaning it could be a comment to a friend's photo, it could be a photo downloaded, uploaded from phone, or it could be a piece of sharing of YouTube video or their own personal videos.
Phone, mobile, something that's come up throughout this conference for a very good reason.
Yes.
60% of your users log on by their mobiles.
Yeah, on a high day, yeah. Typically, this is another interesting, right? So, interesting fact is that typically our mobile traffic goes up a lot on the first day of the month.
Because people have paid for their prepaid card and they can afford to use the data.
The high school students, which is a good part of a user base too, use WAP to still very obsolete, old-fashioned access. But nevertheless, they care about
WAP.
Yeah, some they use that, but we majority of that or mobile users actually use smartphones, iPhones and Android phones. But regardless of what kind of phone they use, because they got log on Renren so much, some of them used up their quota toward the end of the month, and they will log back on the first day of the month violently.
Got my pocket money.
Yeah, so actually for a smart advertiser, they could actually choose to advertise
time the waves,
on the first day of the month on mobile. They get big bang for the buck.
Certain social networks have faced a challenge, monetizing mobile.
Yeah.
Have you looked to monetize mobile? Do you see it as a place where you can monetize?
We have to, right? Right now, we're just getting started. I had a big push internally in the company to drive our advertising sales team toward mobile. But before that, or social commerce side and or mobile gaming operation already started pursuing mobile strategy quite a few quarters back. So nowadays they are benefiting from that early push. The issue with mobile advertising, I don't think is about the inventory issue. There's a lot of inventory for us. I mean, more than half of that daily basis, daily wise, is from mobile. But not that many. I think the traditional advertisers, there's a mismatch of impedance in terms of speed that people move, right? Because we're in the internet industry, we're already moving faster than a typical traditional industry. And then once we move to mobile, the speed of movement become 2 or 3 times faster. So you do have that mismatch of availability of technology and the inventory, but not enough brave trial behaviors coming from the advertiser base, because the advertising planning is by year.
Okay, I'm bringing
our business plan is by quarter.
Okay, if I bring you the bravest advertiser, maybe sitting in this room, what would you propose? What do you think would be their most effective way to use a mobile platform?
I think the first way to hit that will always be the easiest, which is just plain old vanilla, banner ad or whatever, right? So there's a lot of customers trying to build application where you can drive from that the click into a download behavior. I think that's quite smart, because there are a lot of difference between PC advertising versus mobile, right? On PC, you don't have that. You typically do not ask your consumers that click on your ad to download a piece of software on PC. But on mobile, I think that's a very smart way for people to do business, because especially for like e-commerce companies, I mean, there's no doubt we benefit a lot from the mobile or group buying, benefit quite a bit from that. But
wouldn't this be driving people away from your app if you're asking them to download something else?
Doesn't matter. Only a small, just like PC advertising, only a small percentage of people actually click on that, right? So that's still a minority of the behavior, right? So we don't worry too much about that. I mean, it's the same issue on PC, right? People click ads, they get diverted to another web page. So it's the same issue. But I think that have a mobile app to keep the relationship going with the consumer is very smart. I saw quite a few. For instance, I think the Air China is doing that. They're promoting their mobile client very intensively.
Social media and business. We are sort of talking about that by default, but this is also obviously the theme of this entire conference. How deeply is social media become ingrained in business in China?
I overheard some, there are quite a few business leaders who's becoming media sensations because I think they probably spend more than 50% of the time on social media.
Care to name names?
I think you can make some very educated guess, so I think. So
if your business is doing well, at least build your social media profile.
I think that's very smart for them to do, right? Because some of them are relatively newer generation internet companies trying to compete with incumbents, and they're very smart in the sense that they use that new weapon as a way to compete. So actually, I gave that advice to one of our board member who's a traditional business person. I said, you need to embrace social media and social networking to help you do marketing.
For the companies that you find your clients or the brands that are using Renren most effectively, we heard from Nestle a little while ago about how they organize themselves on a global basis to do social media. Yep. What are some of the characteristics that you would see in a company that's using Renren effectively? Is it something organizationally? Is it that they have a leader at the top that is supporting social media? What would be some characteristics?
I think it's probably a combination of what I just said, right? But one common characteristic I can see is probably, I think it's probably, you can see that in the previous, I see certain companies who are able to embrace new wave of technology slightly earlier than the industry cohorts. So if they have done it before with, say, internet, when internet was new, if they have done it early when social networking was new, then most likely they're also earlier adapters than their industry cohorts on mobile social networking and location-based services to facilitate more offline traffic, so on and so forth. So basically, it's really about their organization and the culture to be able to move faster. I mean, in our case, I think that's worthwhile emphasizing is that our industry, is a good percentage of people already moving to mobile part of a business, right? My goal is to have 50% of the people moving to mobile part of a business, starting from 10% about a few quarters ago. My goal is to move 50% of them.
Right, so 50% of your employees should be working on mobile.
On the mobile related.
It was 10% less than a year ago.
Yes.
Wow.
So the idea is that my goal is 50%. Right now, I think we're about 25 to 30.
That's pretty fast shift.
Yes, very fast change. So I spent more than 50% of my time last 2 quarters on mobile, and this quarter I'm spending less.
What kind of mobile phone do you have?
I have a Galaxy, and also have an iPhone.
Okay.
So I use both to try
Any
out.
Preference?
The Samsung is my main phone, and an iPhone is my testing bed for new applications, because iPhone has a bigger ecosystem where a lot of companies decide to launch iPhone app first.
Interesting.
But going back to your question is that I think that so people moving into mobile, the pace of change and innovation just accelerated. So I think that there's a mismatch right now in terms of pace with the mobile internet industry versus the advertising customer base.
Right.
Where still the pace, the mismatch now become bigger.
And meaning that the clients are not brave enough to spend the money in mobile, or?
The speed of movement. So it's really fast for us, right?
You're changing a huge portion of your workforce to mobile, and you're not seeing that shift reflected elsewhere.
That's one thing, and also for those 30% of people who moved to mobile already, you can see their metabolism going up by twice, right? So
they work faster.
They
and harder.
do things faster.
Same salary though.
Higher salary too. Higher salary. You can't believe how expensive it is to hire iPhone engineer nowadays. It's getting very hefty now. I heard that the iPhone engineering price is lower than it's lower in other more developed countries, such as Argentina.
Right.
You could hire a good engineer for I don't know, $10,000 US a year, or two, but here three times as expensive. So anyway, I do think that the mismatch of impedance needs to be addressed.
Right. They're not going to be able to move as quickly as you have, being a startup, being nimble.
But we're patient, right? So my judgment is this, right? So if there's not enough advertisers moving to the mobile yet, even though we have a large inventory, so why don't we monetize it through gaming as well as e-commerce, which is what we're doing.
So those are the two monetization methods.
Yeah,
right.
That's one of the driver for big growth on mobile gaming as well as group buying.
Are there any sectors that are more likely to move into social in an interesting way? I think did I read a recent China merchant bank or banking?
I
mean, finance does not seem like the obvious one, honestly, for social networks.
Finance is a very interesting one, right? So we've been working with different banks on credit card lead gens for many years now, before even we moved to mobile, right? I think in the early days of Renren's monetization effort, we started working with commercial banks on credit card lead gen because we have a large number of high quality users.
So this is if you're a Renren user, you've gone to a university, you're a prime target for
university, or where you just graduate university, and we know which university they graduate from, and therefore that they become very good targeted user base for banks. So we launched the first social credit card with China Merchants Bank to leverage on two things. One is to marry that with our location-based service. And also with China Merchant Bank's more than 10,000 preferred vendors nationwide. So when our user base is checking in on Renren, and if they're nearby any preferred vendors, then we will show that on their mobile phone, and they could go to that particular location and have some preferred treatment.
This was launched recently?
This was launched, I think, a year ago or so.
Okay, so I'm in a certain location, I look at my mobile phone, I can see I get a better deal by using this credit card.
Yes, and I think that, I don't know the exact number, but I think that we probably acquired about more than 100,000 new credit card customers for China Merchant Bank, and actually we're not getting paid a lot, right? So that, I was thinking about how do we make more money from our user base from offering financial services. So I think that financial services will be the next big industry to be revolutionized by social networks.
Right. I mean, one of the things, sorry, this is a little coaching session. We've worked with credit cards before, and one of the things that they're very interested in showing is that their credit card is being pulled out and used more frequently. And if you can show that difference, that's a dollar sign difference of how much more valuable those clients are.
Yeah, I think there's about 6% more usage.
Right, which is an uplift of 6%. So if you collected 6% of those credit card transactions.
I wish. The banks in China are very powerful, so they don't give you those terms. I wish. But there's some other things that we think about, because we do have a lot of college student users, and we have a lot of young white-collar workers, and some of them are getting student loans. So, and that number is going up. So we're thinking whether we could help facilitate, because once a user is on a social network, the reputation is quite it's quite clear whether that person is socially connected, whether he commands respect from the rest of the friends, so on and so forth. If you believe that consumer credit is really computation of expected credit or trustworthiness of a certain consumer, then I think social networks is a golden mine for such information.
Right, and credit checks is a particularly difficult thing in China to do.
Very difficult to do, yes. There's the credit bureau. They are equivalent credit bureaus, but I think we're still in the early stages.
So if you melded Renren with credit bureau, you would have something quite powerful.
We'll see. We'll see.
What are some of the things that are going to be coming out? What can we look forward to seeing in coming?
From Renren or from the entire social space?
Well, the social space broadly, and then specifically Renren. What will we see coming out? Feel free to share with us. You know.
Well, I think in a previous conference, I predicted that well, at first I look at a history, right? What are the first big industry gets transformed by social? The first one is actually gaming. Gaming is a natural. Farmville, talk about Farmville, talk about happy farming on Renren, right? So those are the first wave of changes. And then you had the commerce and the e-commerce being transformed by social. And then you look at other, I think the next two big sectors and business to be transformed. One is financial sector, especially related to consumer credit, as well as education. Renren, particularly, Renren invested in one online education company in China as a JV with a leading Korean online learning education company called Mega Study. And when we came up with the name, the Korean partner said, why don't we say the name is in Chinese is earning study. But if you do earning study, then the student don't want to do it. So we came up with a different name. But anyway, so I'm passionate. I'm personally very passionate about. And
what is the idea? What were the people?
Well, the idea is because because education is such a big industry in China, and it's very fragmented too. And the quality of the education that people offer is also varies quite a bit. So it's really leveraging on the power of the internet. To be the delivery status, a delivery medium of education content. On the other hand, using social networks to lead gen, obviously, but secondarily, maybe using social networks to keep the interest strong and to make study not an individual effort, but a group effort, interactive effort. There are quite a few global startup companies doing different pockets of that.
So education you see as a major thrust forward in the future?
I think it's a big industry that's going to be transformed by social networks.
Interesting. What about upcoming changes, news for what's coming out of Renren? Give us a sneak preview.
We're just about to launch a couple of brand new features that's actually, we think, on the cutting edge. Let me give you one example, and is as good antidote, is that if you look at Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia wouldn't be around if there's no Google, right? So Wikipedia is basically a web service custom-made for search, right? Because it organizes content around a certain keyword and is tax-intensive, so on and so forth. But two things are changing. One is the massive production of photos. Wikipedia is not effective, search engine is not that good with photos, right? So what are you going to do with all that photos? And also another thing is that with the rapid proliferation of pads, the internet users now are demanding bigger, media-intensive, photo-intensive, longer, web pages. Right, that's one of the reasons why Pinterest and Tumblr are so popular, because they're really friendly with pad. You just use your finger and you can look at an extremely long picture. So all these things are changing, and also thirdly, of course, the social networks, right? Pinterest is the Wikipedia equivalent for social network. Without social networks, Pinterest wouldn't be around, right? So we are seeing we think that there should be a different way to do Wikipedia. So we're launching a new product called the Social Wiki, which is really leveraging on the 3 mega trends that I talk about here. One is the rise of social network as alternative infrastructure, and then pad, as well as the abundant number of users on social networks who's willing to write. Think about it. I mean, it's all about crowdsourcing, right? I mean, social network is the biggest crowdsourcing, destination.
As well as education.
Yes.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much, Joe, for coming in. Fantastic finish to the day. We've learned a lot about social media, China, and the future of Renren. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.